In Uganda, there are refugees from conflicts all over the region, and there are also many people who are displaced in Uganda's own civil war. Activists say there are many more male rape victims amongst them who are still too ashamed to come forward. But now, for the first time, victims and activists from around the region and beyond are coming together here in Kampala for a conference. It's the first of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa.
To be one of the examples in northern Uganda about sexual abuse. This happened to me.
Okay, just remove your shirt, do this, and it was very painful.
When I first came to northern Uganda in 1998, I quickly started to hear about the rape of men, but there were no victims anywhere in sight. And it was only a decade later that we were able to find a survivor who was willing also to tell his story.
Now I'm very happy, because if I did not come out, the whole world would not know this conflict as a result of war. This sexual on men and boys would not be known if I was to be silent.
The convening of the South-South Institute is to bring together all these practitioners who we've been struggling to work with them. We've been struggling to explain that these issues happen. We've been referring men for medical support, all in vain because of all the stereotype and the homophobia. Say, okay, for us to create this awareness, we need to first change our training curriculum so that the practitioners coming out of school properly understands and they're able to respond to the different needs of men, women, and girls and boys.
I think
what brought some of these stories out was a result of our community outreaches. Going out to the communities and trying to find out from them what's going on, what has been their experiences. Forming support groups, which is an empowerment tool to enable them to come out and articulate their voices.
Civil society and communities affected by violence, which are working in solidarity with survivors, are in a privileged position to develop and advocate for the interests of individuals and communities impacted by mass violence. It is the role of human rights advocates based outside, like myself, to ask how we can contribute and advance the interests of survivors as those interests have been formulated and articulated in collaboration with survivors and civil society.
It was the first convening that brought together 30 from refugee settlements, from here in Kampala and from northern Uganda. Because some people, when we say sexual violence against men and boys, sometimes people think it is about refugees, it's about conflict. Until when we brought them in space with continuous cases of rape here in Kampala, in the refugee settlements, rape of men. And sometimes, even challengingly, trying to open discussion that some of these perpetrators are not actually even men, others are women. Women in combatants, the female commanders, women in authority. So just to change the discussion that when we're talking about survivors and victims, we need not to put gender.
I've been working with men and boys now for the last 15 to 17 years who have been sexually abused in childhood and raped in institutions. And it's that journey that I want to share with you. I thought I was the only one who had suffered what I had suffered. Here we are in 2013 and people still don't know that this is a worldwide problem.
Less is said about abuse meted out on women. So what do we expect to be said about what abuse is meted out on men? I'm actually not surprised that there are many challenges in this area. What is evident is that it's increasingly become a tool that's being used to intimidate, humiliate, and torture many people.
Throughout my time in social work, the issue of sexual abuse and sexual violence has always existed, and the issue of sexual violence against boys and men has always existed. One of the first clients that I met that came through our door was a man of 72 years of age, and he had been abused as a 12-year-old boy by his mother. And he had not told anybody about this for 60 years. And I remember him sitting in front of me in the chair and just saying, "Can you help?"
We are working with a lot of people coming from the Congo, and you can see that it's a tool to subjugate many of them. Some of it is being done in unbelievable ways.
The first person came in, raped me, and then get out. And then another second one came in also, do the things very strongly, with brutality, very painful, blood could come out, I could shout and cry, but because the place was to be there, I don't know if there was no people around who could hear me and come to rescue me, but no one could come out, there was just soldiers.
Il a fait passer la corde en dessous de mon anus, il a lié par après mes deux bras derrière mon dos, donc mes organes génitaux étaient liés. La corde passa en dessous de mon anus. C'était très douloureux. Je pensais qu'on allait couper directement mes organes génitaux. On m'a fait, on m'a poussé contre le mur.
Many times, when listening to the history patients give you, we get overwhelmed. To the point that I think if we are not shielded, if we are not counseled ourselves, we become traumatized by what others go through.
Is this something that we don't talk about because of African culture? Or is it something we don't talk about because of cultures of silence?
In trying to start and work and link up with others, I think one of the biggest challenges I find is the issue of silence and ignorance.
We're in a system where there is silence and where there's no access to justice.
I think we just have to take the stand and come out and say it as it is.
I've challenged silence. Silence kills.
Some of the men in the social work course, they couldn't deal with it for different reasons, because they assumed that sexual abuse and rape of men was about homosexuality. Why are you talking about this issue? This is not an issue for men. This is not a problem. It's a problem of people who perhaps deserve to be raped.
Many counselors and psychologists in this country will not know what to do with these people after all. But the horror stories about what the male survivor goes through coming into this setting include being taken to a gynecology ward when they explain what their problem is. They end up on a gynecology ward, and then the doctor there then asks, "Why are you here?" And so they're coming into a society that does not really know what to do with them.
I remember sometime when I used to meet people, some offices around, and then you'll explain to them about your condition. People could not understand what you're saying, and they could just ask you a question. Really, a man can be also raped. You are soon you're enough assume you can defend yourself, and they don't know how that things happen. Maybe you have been tortured, you have been beaten, half dead, and then they use you.
In my experiences in the UK and working in other countries in Cambodia, many people are working with boys and men who are survivors, and many of those service providers said, you know, I'm really struggling with this because I don't know what to do. When a man comes in the room and he talks to me and he starts to cry, I have no idea what to do.
I work with people who need health. Sometimes it's police, sometimes it's rejection by family, sometimes it's institutions that have been referred, you know, people are referred to these institutions and they say, is this a sodomy case? Is this, you know, doctors who say, but we are gynecologists, we can't deal with a man who's been violated. But sometimes I find myself helpless. I can't do anything because the systems in place say we deal with girls who've been raped, rape crisis center. We deal with women, we deal with legal issues. It doesn't quite fit the legal definition. The systems in place need a dismantling.
Under Ugandan law, rape is defined again as the unlawful carnal knowledge of a woman or a girl. Under international law, rape is defined as the invasion of the body of a person by conduct resulting in the penetration of any part of the body of the victim.
For example, we have the penal code that says, that talks of indecent assault on boys. Section 147, sexual assault of boys, indecent assault of boys. But actually, it is because the makers of the law at that point did not want to come out and say rape or defilement of boys. So they call it indecent assault. And then you wonder whether you can have a decent assault of that nature.
Very many people do not know that this violation is actually taking place because there's actually little or no documentation.
So for the medical practitioners, even from the South-South Institute, it was very clear that, and they even confessed that in their own training, and these were students in their final year, they had never been taught about experiences of men and boys in sexual violence and whether men could be raped, and if it happens, how do you respond to that? It is not there at all. And these are people who graduate and they're taken across the country to provide this kind of support. So probably because their teachers have also not been taught that way. So that's why they also teach these students like that, and the curriculum continues.
Today we had a lecture on forensic medicine, and he was talking about sexual abuse, and you know the subtopic was rape, and he defined rape as, you know, unlawful sexual, you know, a sexual act to a woman or girl child, and immediately hands shot up and they were like, lecturer, no. And you know, he was corrected. They told him, you know, these things are also happening to men. Well, he put up resistance, but the students were not willing to give up.
From the conference, many men opened up after, because we've been able to send the different, we would call them role models, the 10 representatives from Nachi Valley, 10 representatives from Kampala, and 10 representatives from northern Uganda were able to conduct community outreaches. Before, they were not able to do it, but now they got the courage and the strength with the support of these government agencies.
I will present the first one because it's for Mr. Ken Clearwater.
God, we make our way where it seems to be no way. He walks in ways you cannot see. He will make a way for me. He will be my God. Draw me closer to His side. With love and strength for each needed. He will make a way. He will make a way. And God will make a way where it seems to be no way. He walks in ways you cannot see. He will make a way for me. He will be my God. Draw me closer to His side. With love and strength for each needed. He will make a